Director Watt, good to see you again. You mentioned a couple of times, I want to talk about G fees first, that you're currently studying the G fee issue, and we'll make a determination. It was my understanding that a study was done prior to the previous director issuing a directive to increase the G fee to 10%. So I guess the first question is if we've already studied it, why are we studying it again?
Well, I don't think we should ever stop evaluating issues. I was not a party to the study that was done before. We obviously are taking that study and any conclusions that it reached into account in reaching our conclusion. But we've been very transparent in seeking input about how these G fees should be set, what criteria should be applied in setting the G fees. Should it be about just about protecting against the risk that that Fannie and Freddie are assuming? Should it be about capital formation? Should it be about attracting private capital into the process? Has been very transparent and.
So you decided to study it again, is what?
Yes.
Okay. So the cross-subsidization issue that the gentleman from New Jersey brought up, I think is an issue that I'm interested in as well. And in fact, I had conversations with your predecessor in that there are some states that have very, very stringent foreclosure procedures that in many cases keep the people that loan the money in good faith not months from getting their property back if the person's not paying, but in some cases years. And so I think that in those cases I support that is a higher risk to those entities and those where those foreclosure rules are very consumer oriented. And so if I'm not opposed to those states deciding that. I think that's their right. But I think what they have to also understand is when you make it so consumer oriented and that you penalize the people that are loaning the money and causing losses, and what we've seen in many of those states where they had it's very difficult to get your property back, that those properties were stripped of windows and sinks. And so I just want to say to you that I think pricing your G fees on risk is important. Now, one of the things that you allude to in your report, and in your written testimony, and you brought it up as well, is you've been doing some risk transferring. And so I guess the question is, if you're not taking a risk, you don't have to transfer it. But I wondered if you could give the committee some idea how many basis points it's costing to transfer that risk. Now, what is the pricing on those transactions that you're doing that would to give us some idea of what's costing to reinsure those risks?
I can't tell you in basis points, but I can tell you that one of the criteria that is always applied is that a risk transfer must be done in a commercially reasonable manner, and it can't be just giving away assets because that would be inconsistent with our conserve and preserve mandate under the conservatorship statute.
I think that where I'm trying to get to, though, is in the current situation where Freddie and Fannie really don't, they need to make a profit, but there is really no market forces in place there to determine, whether what the value of these entities are. And so the question is if you are transferring that risk, it would be helpful for us to know that, because that should also influence what your G fee pricing is going to be. In other words,
well, we have that information. I don't mean to suggest that we don't have that information. We have the information on every risk transfer transaction that has been undertaken, the cost, what the models say the value was, what Fannie and Freddie made on the transactions. We have that information. But you asked me, what are the number of basis points? I mean, that's information I wouldn't have off the top of my head, but we can provide more information to you if that's what you need.
I would like that. Final point I would make is back on the down payment. I think it's erroneous, kind of ironic that, maybe erroneous too, but it's ironic that, you know, we made FHA increase their down payment to 3.5%. And it looks like the two of you have got a race here of seeing who can get the most market share here. And so you've kind of won up FHA by going to a 3% down payment when they have a 3.5% down payment.
Well, first of all, you should be clear that we are not in competition with FHA.
Sure you are.
We are not. The market the market is going to go to whoever gives them the best deal. We know that, but we're not competing with FHA. We're trying to provide liquidity in the market, which is what our mandate says we're supposed to.
Time of the gentleman has expired. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and